Joining me right now, it's an edition of Weinberg Wednesday. Dave Weinberg joins the show as he does each and every week here on 97.3 ESPN right here on Game Night. Dave, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Josh. How are you?
You look very relaxed, Dave.
Not too bad. Yeah, I just finished making some bets on the British Open at Ocean, so I'm kind of taking some break before I go have some dinner.
Fancy. All right. Well, we'll touch on that a little bit as well. But so we first got to talk about what we talked about last week, which was we didn't know who was going head-to-head in the home run derby yet when we both picked the two guys who were facing off in the first round, Soto and Ohtani. And while neither guy won, I think both guys gave us the most epic performance in the home run derby, going to double overtime, basically. So at least we picked the two most entertaining guys outside of Pete Alonso on Monday night.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was really impressed with Pete Alonso dancing around to the music, really having fun with it. He gave an incredible performance. I thought he's one of those guys who kind of lives for the moment. It looks like he's at his best when the pressure's on. He took that little break. He had the bonus time, and then he just started swatting the ball all over into the stands, just one after the other. I was really impressed with Pete.
First of all, Pete Alonso, I think, is born for this. I mean, if anybody was born for the home run derby, I feel like it's him and Ken Griffey Jr. Those are like the two guys I've seen in the last 30 years. Because Griffey did the back-to-back thing, too. And, of course, Griffey had the most amazing swing ever. And Pete Alonso, like you said, he's just so relaxed up there. He had energy for days. And he takes the time out just to pump up the crowd up even more. It was just amazing to watch. But what we saw from Ohtani and Soto, I feel like, first of all, for Ohtani to be just so willing to do that is a big deal in and of itself, because he's basically saying, I'm the star, I'm the attraction here, and I'm willing to do everything. But for Soto to go out there and just give it his all as well, it was just awesome to see that we didn't just have the All-Star game back. We didn't just have the home run derby back. We didn't just have it at Coors Field, but the guys were having fun. At the end of the day, isn't that what it's all about, Dave?
Yeah, it really is. This is, a special circumstance after, all of what happened last year. So for those guys to not only attend it, but to embrace it, and like you said, really enjoy themselves, really play to the crowd, really come through in the clutch. It was just a tremendous event. I mean, I think it superseded the All-Star game itself. I actually, to be honest, in all honesty, I didn't watch much of it, but I thought the home run derby was terrific.
Well, the All-Star game had guys in pajamas anyway, so it was kind of one of those moments where it was like, because here's the thing, Dave. Like, I talked about this with Mike Gill earlier. Like, you turn on the All-Star game to be like, there's the Phillies guy, there's the Pirates guy, there's the whatever team it is. But you see a guy like Adam Frazier walk up to the plate. Nobody knows who Adam Frazier is unless you play fantasy baseball. But guess what? He's wearing pajamas on the baseball field instead of a Pirates jersey, so nobody knows he's batting or playing. The only reason why you know who Tatis is because he's Fernando Tatis. Half those guys, you have no idea who they are, their uniform, and I think it was the stupidest thing baseball has done in a week where it seemed like they were getting everything right.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. That was a fashion statement gone horribly wrong. If you want to wear identical hats or something, ALNL, that's fine. But for them to trot out there with those get-ups, it was hysterical, quite frankly.
It was. I didn't know whether to laugh or be embarrassed for them. I mean, I know I didn't know if I was a player, I wouldn't be sure if I could actually wear those on the field. Maybe someone would have to remind me what my paycheck was. You know what I mean? Like somebody would be like, "Hey man, you're getting paid a lot of money to play baseball. All right, fine, I'll go out there and wear these things." But outside of that, I think baseball put a good foot forward this year, and it was good to see because, listen, we had none of this last year, and you have to capitalize on it somehow, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you have to take advantage of everything that you can. Like you said, people were begging for baseball after what happened last year. And to their credit, I said the players and the fans, they all embraced it. I felt bad for Atlanta not having it, but that's the breaks of that's what happens when you're in stuff that outside of baseball gets involved. And but yeah, I thought Colorado did a great job of hosting it. I thought the fans really embraced it, and the players too. I thought it was a great event except for the uniforms, like you said.
Dave Weinberg joining us for a Weinberg Wednesday here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, you can follow him on Twitter at Dave Weinberg19. Dave, we'll get to that next because you mentioned the British Open. It is this weekend. Now, before I ask you who you placed your wagers on,
okay,
my question is, do you feel at all a little different about this tournament than you usually would because of the guys who are not in it?
You mean like Tiger or?
Well, the Tiger's not in it. Also, Zach Johnson's not going to be there. I forget the other player who's not going to be there as well. You know, obviously there's some COVID issues. There's some travel issues. You know, it seems like, you know, it would feel a little different if it was a full field, at least in my perspective.
Maybe. I still think there's some star quality there, though. I mean, and the British Open is one of those tournaments where it doesn't really matter how much star quality you have, because oftentimes the winner will just come out of nowhere. I mean, I'm talking like Ben Curtis in 2003 at this course, Darren Clark. I mean, some people knew him, but the British Open is just set up as such that it's so difficult to play. The wind, not many of the American players have experience at links golf. So I'm just looking forward to the tournament as a whole. I wouldn't be surprised if the winner was somebody you never heard of, but I'll be watching regardless of who's there. That's just the way I am. I'm a golf addict. So.
Okay, so does that mean you put a wager on Rory McDonald or on Daniel Berger then?
Neither. What I did was, I went, let's see, John Rahm, Jordan Spieth, Xander Schauffele, Louis Oosthuizen. I always bet on Phil, right, except for the one time when he won and I didn't. And I think Ryan Palmer was my long shot. He's like at 125 to 1. So I was listening to the Golf Channel on my way here, and that was one of the guys that they mentioned. So I figured, what the heck? It's only $20. I'll take a shot with him.
See, here's the thing. Like, to me, when it comes to the British Open, I feel like that's the one tournament that I'm not a golf expert at all. I'm a casual watcher, but I have no feel. I have no idea who's going to win, so I'm not even going to try to predict who's going to win.
Well, nobody does really. But go ahead.
No, my point is that you know, if you tell me that you have a feeling about somebody, I'm just going to say yes, because to me, like you said, like there's people who win this thing every year. You know, I mean, if I had to pull a name out of the hat, you know, who might be a value play, I know that Lee Westwood is plus 4,500 and Justin Rose is plus 6,000. So, I mean, why not go for like the longest odds possible with somebody who has at least been around a little while?
That's true. That's not a bad strategy at all. Yep.
All right, well, I got the Dave Weinberg seal of approval here on Weinberg Wednesday here on 97.3 ESPN. Overall, Dave, how do you feel about how the golf season has gone overall? Obviously, this is our first year in the we're coming out of the post-pandemic environment.
Very well, really. I mean, there's been a few hiccups. You know, John Rahm testing positive when he's got like a 6-shot lead. Some other guys having to pull out for this kind of issues. But all in all, I think it's been a great year for golf. You've had guys who are winning for the first time. You have guys who had, like last week, you didn't have a guy who hadn't won in 10 years comes out with a victory. You have, you know, Phil Mickelson is the oldest major winner ever. It just seems like there's drama every week. And I'm like, well, I'm probably a little bit more of a golf fan than you. So in that I will watch like every tournament, but I'm not like glued to the TV for the Farmers Insurance Open or the John Deere Classic, but I will watch it. But I just think I think the majors have been riveting. I think, you know, every week it seems like something new happens. There's some sort of really cool storyline. So I think it's been a tremendous year. And I'm sad to see that the majors are over. This is the last one for the year, but we do have the Tour Championship coming up, I guess. So there's something to root for.
Yeah, there's something to look forward to. Obviously, also it's what's called the end of the year trophy. Is that still called the FedEx Cup?
I'm not sure. And I think the Ryder Cup is this year too, right?
The Ryder Cup is this year, and of course,
so cool.
Well, people are wondering if Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka can get along if they're both on the Ryder Cup team. Which I still don't understand, Dave, why nobody just pairs them together and just sees what happens. Like, to me, that's...
I know, yep. That would be really fun to watch, yep.
Like, this is what I would do. If I was somebody, I would just tell somebody, look, if you're ESPN, you got ESPN Plus, right? Or you're whatever network and you got your app streaming, right? I go to somebody and be like, pair those two up. We're going to have a single cam running on the streaming app. And people will flock to that app. They will lose their minds just to watch that. I mean, people will literally just be like not working for an entire day, just streaming and watching that to see what happens.
Right. From what I've heard, they kind of floated the idea a couple of weeks ago. I think it was at the U.S. Open, actually, where they, I think they approached Brooks and Bryson about the idea of playing together, and neither of them were too keen on the idea. But you're right. I mean, that would be must-see TV in my eyes. I would love to watch those two try to interact, try not to, gouge each other's eyes out or whatever they're going to do, throw clubs at each other. But that's one of the really neat feuds in sports at this point, I think.
Absolutely. Dave Weinberg joining us for a Weinberg Wednesday here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Speaking of feuds, apparently the feud is not done. We saw that McGregor lost to Poirier over the weekend. First of all, he was already losing the fight. He was already down on the card. Two judges had a 10-8, actually, for Poirier.
He's getting his butt kicked.
To me, Dave, I think that what happened at the end of the fight is honestly one of the most disgraceful things I've ever heard in combat sports. I mean, McGregor's, throwing jabs at Poirier's wife. He's just being a complete scumbag at the end there. And it's just like, I don't understand how...
As usual, but go ahead. Yeah.
Right, but my point is that if you were one of those, McGregor fans, I don't know how you could still be after him doing that, because to me, going after people's family, threatening to murder people, just being a complete dirtball, and obviously I'm censoring myself here, is just completely unacceptable on that level in sports to me.
Right. I mean, MMA, UFC in particular, they tend to seem to play up those kind of angles, but you're right. I mean, Connor's act that's worn thin like now. It's been that way for really the last couple of years, but I have zero respect for the guy. If you lose, okay, that happens, but at least conduct yourself with a little bit of dignity and class. You don't have to go after, like you said, the guy's family. You don't have to threaten people. You don't have to throw chairs at buses. It's just, those kind of antics are just. MMA is at the point now where the sport should be able to speak for itself without having these cartoonish sideshows that they seem to have, and Connor's leading the way. I'm sick of seeing him. I don't care if he ever fights again.
Well, he's going to fight again because he's under contract, and the Nate Diaz fight is out there. They'll make a bunch of money off of that. Those guys.
How many times has he retired? Like 10?
I know. Well. McGregor, I think, is retired a number of times that the same person who's in town that you are right now is retired.
There you go.
Him and Michael Jordan have something in common. So, I was going to ask you, have you run into MJ or Jimmy Johnson while you're up in Atlantic City?
No, I have not yet. No. From what I understand, Charles Barkley had a really interesting bet a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
He bet on himself in a golf tournament.
Yes. He bet on himself to finish in the top 70 of that celebrity tournament.
$100,000 and he lost, right?
Yeah, he
finished like 75th or 76th.
He finished 75th. He was supposed to finish top 70. If he would have won the bet, it would have netted him $500,000.
Wow.
So, as Chuck explained it, I love the explanation he gave. He said, "Well, I was going to bet anyway, so I might as well bet on myself."
Yeah, there you go. Yep. Speaking of MJ, He enters this thing called the Mid-Atlantic. It's this huge fishing tournament that's held in Cape May and Ocean City, Maryland every year. He has a 100-foot yacht or something that he docks in Ocean City, Maryland. But I was trying to figure out why he doesn't do it in Cape May with Atlantic City right here. And as you know, he's no stranger to placing a bet or two. I would think that would have been the natural progression for him to just come to Cape May and then go up to Atlantic City while the pros do this fishing for him. Hopefully they'll do that one of these years.
Well, apparently the Jimmy Johnson fishing tournament is what enticed him this year. So.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay.
Maybe that's what. Because apparently whoever wins this is going to make $1 million or $2 million. So
that's the way it is. The Cape May one, you have no idea the amount of money that's involved. It's the winners generally of the white marlin category, they'll walk away with $2 million every year. It's ridiculous. It's amazing the amount of money that's involved in Calcuttas, which are like basically like side bets for fishing tournaments. But you get people from up and down the East Coast with 100-foot yachts, 80-foot fishing vessels. It's incredible to see. It's kind of it must be nice to have that kind of money.
Hey, listen, man.
To play with.
Obviously, I picked some of the wrong paths in life because obviously I should have gotten involved in fishing and a few other things, right? I might have had a chance at some bigger money, but here I am talking to you, Dave Weinberg here.
And here I am talking to you. So, yeah.
Here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM. Dave, speaking of Cape May, I know that you've been out and about, checking out a lot of the different things and the races going on and everything.
Lifeguard races, yep.
And obviously, this it's a huge part of South Jersey. But to me, the bigger thing, Dave, something you and I have talked about before, which is it's good to see things happening again. It's good to see the people back in town. It's good to see these. It feels like even if we're not 100% quote unquote back to normal, I mean, we're so much better off than we were last year when we didn't have any of this. So to see a name of anybody winning these races or to see people running and competing, period, to me is just refreshing.
Oh, it's fantastic. You're right. Last year was just so difficult, especially the summer. There's so many restrictions, so many things canceled. And you're right, the lifeguard races are this unique part of South Jersey. I think I might have mentioned before that there's a few years ago where Sports Illustrated decided to highlight one sport per state. And New Jersey's pick for them was lifeguard racing. It's just such a unique event, such a special event. This goes back to 1900s or what have you, when some people just climbed in wooden boats and rowed for the heck of it. It's just it's just the crowds were amazing. The competition was incredible. I went to the Cape May County Championships in Wildwood Crest, then went to the Super Athlon in Cape May a couple nights ago, and both of the events were just spectacularly run, and it was so exciting to see people out and about again. You're right.
Folks can check out your full coverage of the Cape May Super Athlon right now over at 97.3 ESPN.
Thank you.
.com. People can go check out more details on that because let's be realistic. Anybody who runs anything with the word athlon in it, they are a phenomenal athlete. Okay, I mean that is an individual who is able to do things that basically 80% of the population could never accomplish.
Well, if you want to talk incredible, they had a women's division this year for the first time. So the end of it's a 1.4 mile, or I'm sorry, 2.5 mile run up the beachfront, climb in a boat, row about 1.5 miles, climb out of the boat, then you got to swim like a 1/4 mile against the current. So the current sweeps. You pay if you don't turn that buoy before you reach that. With the current pass, if that carries you through, you're cooked because you got to swim against it to get around it, and you're going to swim in place for like 10 minutes and nothing. So one woman made it around. There's 7 women in the race. 3 of the women missed the buoy, came back to shore, ran back out in the water, and did the same course again just so they could finish the race.
Wow!
I was just amazed at their stamina and their desire to just find a way to make it across that finish line. That was just amazing.
That's incredible. Again, folks can read the full details of it over at 97.3 ESPN.com at the Cape May Super Athlon. Finally, Dave, before I let you go, this was also a big week in South Jersey for baseball because Chase Petty was not the only South Jersey guy to be drafted. There were multiple young men from South Jersey who were drafted in the Major League Baseball draft from all over South Jersey, including Josh Hood from St. Augustine Prep, Anthony Solamento from Bishop Eustace. So it's seeming more and more that baseball is becoming a much more seen thing at terms of professional level when it comes to South Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, for years and years, South Jersey had this reputation of not being a baseball so-called hotbed. I guess teams were fearful of just scouting in the Northeast because of the weather. You got, games canceled for rain, for snow, for what have you. So, in the last 10 years or so, I mean, just the breakthrough that Mike Trout was probably the most known one, but there's guys like up and down South Jersey, like you said, who have found a way to get scouts to come see them. and then to capitalize on that, Sean Doolittle is a major. He was a major one. I think he went to like maybe Shawnee or something like that. But he went to Virginia, then and was wound up as a closer for the A's and for the Nationals. So yeah, there's guys up and down the line, and scouts now know, especially the Twins and the Angels. They seem to draft guys every year from South Jersey. Specifically, Ocean City or Millville or what have you. And yeah, it's really great to see that people are finally starting to take notice that South Jersey is indeed a baseball hotbed.
Yeah, you mentioned the Twins. Chase Petty gets to go join Cody Stashak over out there in Minnesota's organization.
And Sean Mooney too, from Ocean City. Yep.
Yeah. And Ocean City's had a bunch of kids drafted. I mean, you mentioned Mooney, McKenna, Danny Noonan. I mean, they're just churning out guys. I mean, Gannon Brady
Zach Warren,
was great this year. I mean, he'll probably get to the bigs, or at least the minor league somewhere at some point. Like, it seems like more and more the baseball talent in this area is finally getting recognized, and it's just cool. I just think it's cool when you see a young man in this area getting that kind of recognition.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you go back to like there was a point where it was Mike Trout, Matt Caesar, Darren Ford. They all had a chance to play in the majors, and it's just going to continue from here. Like you said, there's going to be Cody Stashak he's had like a couple of cups of coffee with the Twins. Brett Kennedy with the Padres before he had some shoulder injuries, but he's making his way back from Atlantic City. Yeah, it's really great to see that these kids are finally getting an opportunity and capitalizing on their chances.
And by the way, speaking of all that, so Dave, before I let you go, I was out watching the UFC fights. I just reminded this on Saturday night. And I ran into Absagami's own, who's reporting to the Pittsburgh Steelers in a couple of weeks, Abdullah Anderson. I ran into him.
Awesome.
And, I mean, he's one of those stories. I mean, I remember I told you, they need to make a movie about Matt Caesar. Well, Abdullah could have his own movie because he goes to Bucknell. I mean, who the heck goes to Bucknell on a scholarship, for goodness sake? I mean, that in of itself is impressive. And now he's playing in the NFL. And, this is a guy who he has plans for after football as well because he wants to get into accounting and financing. It's like, I mean, this guy is just an awesome success story of what, someone who has an opportunity takes full advantage of it.
Oh, absolutely. And like you said, there's stories all over the NFL. And South Jersey's they're a hotbed for football, too. I mean, you got like Jack Crawford in the NFL now. There's guys there's probably like 3 or 4 guys now that I think about it. That are playing in the NFL, or at least going to training camps. You got the kid from Mainland who just got it signed by the Jaguars, Kenneth. I can't remember his last name. You got to forgive me, but he was working at Big Lots or something when after his football career. But now he finally gets an opportunity. He's making the most of it. Yeah, it's really cool to see that Abdullah he had his chance with the Bears. He played I think he played in a couple games and then got released and bounced around. But yeah, I'm glad to see him sign with the Steelers. Hopefully he'll make the team and have a nice career for himself.
Absolutely. Dave Weinberg joins us each and every week for a Weinberg Wednesday here.
Oh, Austin Johnson too. I forgot about him.
Yep, Austin Johnson is. Also, Bembry, the offensive lineman out there with the Rams. So
Jamil Dumby. Yep, from Vineland. Yep.
Yeah, can't forget about him as well. But as I was saying, Dave Weinberg Wednesday. Dave, I don't think we covered anything today. We talked for about 25 minutes. We didn't talk about anything.
I do remember something about lifeguard races and something about golf, but it's all good.
Dave, always appreciate the conversation. I'll let you get back to your fun and festivities up there in the city. Have a good one, my friend.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it. Talk to you next week.